Hi, everyone. Just wanted to welcome you to today's Lunch and Learn. Just still getting a couple of people coming into through our waiting room, so just give me a couple minutes before we start. All right, I think that's pretty good. Hi, Avree, thanks for joining us. It's great to see you here today.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here.
We're excited to have you. So let me just introduce myself. I'm Tirza Van Lindenberg. I'm one of the events directors with ATSA. And today we have Avree presenting for us with Young Construction Leaders and Calgary Municipal Land Corporation. I also wanted to introduce Kevna Dave, sorry, she'll be taking over events director position in the fall and kind of working with me this summer. So I just wanted to let everyone know, please feel free to turn your cameras on and ask questions and make this presentation your own. Yeah, I think it'd be more interesting if you want to participate during the next hour. So then I'm going to let you take it over, Avree, unless anyone else has any questions.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Tirza. I am going to pull up my presentation. I am going to turn my camera off. I just don't want to end up losing you guys with any connection issues while I'm going through this slide, but I won't be able to see you anyways, but you will all be able to see each other. So I encourage you to show yourselves, at least if you're going to ask a question, that would be great so everyone can see who's speaking. Through the presentation, I do encourage you to go ahead and ask questions anytime you have them come up. It's a pretty informal presentation. So yeah, I will pull up my presentation here. And we're going to go. And I have the wrong one. Let me just get this sorted here. Can you see that? Just the cover page?
Not yet.
No? Okay, sorry, 1 second. There we go. Oh, there. There we go.
There
How's
we go.
that?
Perfect.
And now you guys over here. Let me see if I can move this. There we go. Okay. So my name is Avree Bujaczek. I'm a graduate from the CPM program in 2015. And yeah, I'll go through a quick agenda. So I'm going to share with you guys just an overview of my experience. So you have an idea of where I'm coming from and like the types of questions that I might be able to answer and how I can help you. I will then talk about Calgary Municipal Land Corporation, better known as CMLC, which is where I'm currently employed. And then I'll get into talking about the Calgary Construction Association and Young Construction Leaders Committee, where I spend a lot of my extracurricular time. So my experience, I like to note that I started out with a big failure. I started at the University of Saskatchewan in engineering. I was good at all things math and science, and I was like, you know, kind of pushed like, hey, you should take engineering. I really didn't know what that was at the time, but I jumped in and it did not go well. And I got a nice fancy letter from them asking me to reconsider taking engineering. So that was a hard lesson I learned early on. I then was working at my summer job. So I had a summer job that first year. I ended up staying there for 5 years. And getting some really good mentorship while I tried to make my next move. Working at a laboratory, like materials testing type company, I got exposed to a lot of different types of construction sites and a big like overview of the industry, which is really neat. And it led me to have an interest in project management. So I ended up coming to Calgary to go to state in 2011. I then volunteered as the vice president of the CPM Students Association for 3 years while I was taking that program. And then I graduated in 2015, like I mentioned. And right after that, I became a delegate on the construction project management programs, the program advisory committee with state. So I've been doing that. This is my 6th year. I am also currently the immediate past chair of the Young Construction Leaders Committee, but I got involved back in 2016, 2015, just as they were kind of coming together. So yeah, I've been involved in that in a long time. It shows my spot is 2 years as the immediate past chair. Normally, that's not how a volunteer position would happen, but just with COVID, the team decided to keep from transitioning since last year was kind of a wash. My work experience after I did my internship with LEDCorp, so I was there for 11 months until I finished the program. I did a couple work terms with PCL and then spent 5 years there. I was then a coordinator with Paul Merlot. I spent just over a year there. And then I got another big shiny letter that I was going to be laid off from there. So I've experienced some failure, and I really think it's so important to share. As a student and even young in my career early on, we would get presentations from people, and you know, you always wonder like, oh, how did that person get there, and what can I do to get into that position? And I found so many of the presentations were like, oh yeah, I just like had a sponsor and they spoke for me and kind of carried me up, and things were kind of easy, and it wasn't too hard for me. And I'm like, well, that's not super realistic, I don't think, for everyone. And I'm sure those people had hard times, but they didn't share them. And so yeah, just letting you guys know, yeah, that did happen, and it ended up getting me to where I am today, which is at CMLC. So my layoff actually occurred in November of 2019, so right before COVID. So I was about 5 months into my layoff when COVID hit. So I was like, holy. But I had already been interviewing with CMLC and trying to figure it out, but they had to delay bringing me on. But luckily, they had a spot for me on the Calgary Events Center, which is this monster of a project. Just disclaimer, this rendering is old, but it is just a really neat picture of the area and what type of space CMLC really focuses on creating, and how it brings together the community and the area. And hopefully one day we can all be out partying on the streets together, like in this photo. So this brings me to CMLC. Before I dive into that though, does anyone have any questions? Are you curious about anything I've shared so far? Okay, well, we'll keep going. So I'll give you some info about CMLC. So we were incorporated in 2007, basically based on a need identified by the city of Calgary. So they wanted to develop the Rivers District, which I will kind of show you what that looks like on a plan here. But yeah, they just identified there's this space in the city that had a lot more potential. So they wanted to figure out how to activate it and what types of buildings could go in. So you see in this image here, there's the new Central Library. That's a project that we did. Our office is also located in the St. Louis Hotel location, which we also upgraded that building. And so the first focus of this project is East Village, and that's where these buildings are located. CMLC took on East Village as kind of a whole, and it wasn't just about building one project. And that's what is really unique. And as architecture students, I feel like you can probably relate. You probably look more into the planning side of projects and that side of things, whereas from project management, we're very project focused. So the new focus that I have from CMLC is really interesting. It's how do you update a space in ways that complement one another and in ways that benefit the community, and not just the community, but also bring outside people to that space and use it and enjoy it. So yeah, the comments about East Victoria Park through the Rivers District, you'll see in the plan coming up, which will make a bit more sense then. But yeah, the strong relationships with partners and stakeholders. So again, like I mentioned, all the people using these facilities and the city and Calgary Stampede and the other neighboring projects such as Green Line, you know, that's such a big thing for Calgary going on, and we need to consider all these things. So yeah, the last note there, just focusing on building communities. So this is an overview of the whole Rivers District master plan. So this kind of outlines the whole thing. This section, just looking here. So this is kind of East Village space. We have Fort Calgary. Here we're looking at doing some upgrades there. Arts Commons is in here. Some of you might have heard about that project coming up. It's a very exciting upgrade and expansion of that facility. And then here in this circle is the focus. Right now, where everything's kind of currently ongoing, is the Culture and Entertainment District, which is within the Rivers District. So here you can see the future event center space. We just completed the Hall F expansion of BMO. There is the big, large, beautiful BMO expansion shown here. And then the Stampede Station and 17th Ave extension, which some of you might not know about. And it is kind of a project that's been in the background. It's not as much in the spotlight, but it is so critical to this space. And it's really a catalyst in opening this up and bringing people in. And what it's going to do is put this station at grade instead of being up in the stairs where you go into the +15. That +15 is gone. This whole red is gone. The yellow dome portion is gone now if you've been down there. And they're actually going to put an at-grade crossing right at 17th Ave and McLeod Trail, and then extend 17th Ave so you drive right in, which makes it very accessible to this area. This space has over $1 billion worth of work slated for it right now, which is just really crazy and really great in the current economy right now. You know, it's great to know that these projects are still going on and there are a lot of jobs for people, and that these spaces will create a lot of permanent jobs for people in these spaces. The other side of CMLC is focused on programming and placemaking, and this is really that community side. So once we finish our spaces and they're active, we take it on ourselves to make like just events and places that people want to come to. So I'm sure lots of you have seen the Bounce. These basketball courts are always busy, and I've always wanted to go play there, but I'm like, I'm not going with all these folks that look super good. In Fort Calgary this winter, in that big field, we put in a cross-country ski track so people would get out. And you know, the mountains are so busy with COVID. It's nice having a nice local space to go skiing. You can see there's movies in the park. That's on, I think, St. Patrick's or St. George's Island, sorry. This is also on the island right by the zoo. So again, a COVID installation, they put these to kind of delineate the spacing, but still ran these exercise classes for people to attend in the community. And then over winter, I don't know if you saw the hygge huts we put in, so big fire pits, and there's hot chocolate stands. And now they're also set up for the summer for activating the space for the people on Riverwalk. So yeah, we really want these places to contribute to the health and well-being of the people living in them. And again, like if you're a tourist or if you're just, you want to get out and go somewhere for a Saturday, this is a nice place to be. Any questions on CMLC before I move on to CCA? Not yet. Okay, I'll let you take it in. Yeah, go ahead.
Avree, can I just ask you to kind of explain the connection between the city of Calgary and CMLC?
Yes, I will do my best. So it's a weird one, but basically the city can put together a levy, which is kind of just like a pot of money dedicated to a certain reason. And so CMLC was created with funds from a community revitalization levy. It's called a CRL, and that's where we are funded from. So yeah, we are kind of like an arm of the city, but we don't operate under the city necessarily. We aren't considered city employees. We just have a very strong tie, and we do consider ourselves kind of like city representatives with their best interest in mind.
Thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you coordinate with the other departments or authorities, I guess, like the parking authority or Calgary Transit?
Yeah, kind of the same as anyone else on a typical project. So depending on the situation and the requirement, for certain activities, you're required to do a permit application, which will then get you in touch with the right party. But otherwise, typically, if you're involved with the city, like most of our projects are, we would have a city representative. We also, all of our projects have a steering committee, which is made up of the key project representatives. And those for us pretty much always have a City of Calgary representative. And that is also like a voting board. So they make the project decisions as they are kind of in control of some of the funding. But yeah, if you don't have a permit application that directly gets you in touch with someone, then the project representative would get you connected to that department.
Thanks, Avree.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. So this next portion, as I was kind of going through and putting it together, I was like almost emotional, and it was just really cool. It really stood out to me how much volunteering has played a big role in my career, and how much it has meant to me and how much it has helped me. And I can't express enough how much, like, I suggest you guys find something that you love and get involved. And even if it isn't related to your work, if I find this really keeps the fire lit for my motivation and what I do day to day. On the hard days, it's like, okay, but I get to do these other things that are so impactful too. So the Calgary Construction Association is a nonprofit organization. They have member companies, and their goal is to be a resource and a voice, like a collective voice for the industry. So when regulations are changing, or the way, say, the city is contracting things, or just as different big issues come up, such as the Green Line project, which, there was a lot of back and forth on whether to make it one giant project that would reduce the ability for local contractors to participate in, compared to breaking it out into smaller portions that people here could avoid to take on the risk and the project themselves. So instead of like one company voicing concerns, they can go to the CCA and say, hey, we have these challenges and let's work collaboratively to like take them to the city and put together documents that are impactful and so they can help make change. And what they also do is a lot of networking and education events and just really try to bring people together in the industry. So the Young Construction Leaders Committee is a committee under the Calgary Construction Association. Similar to CMLC and the city, the CCA saw a need to bring in the younger people in the industry. Typically, a lot of the big events and a lot of the participation they were getting is from the older folks in the industry who tend to be more comfortable and maybe have a bit more time to get out and participate in those types of things and, you know, just get rid of some of the stigma of the old boys clubs. So they created this committee and I've been involved since the first year, which has been amazing to see it grow and the impact we've had. And what we do, here's some photos. So we do a lot of just collaboration. So at that board table, a lot of us are competitors and some people are clients to others. But when we all come together, we're just a group of young folks like trying to improve the industry. And we have a lot of fun doing it, as you can see. The top right photo is connected to our community outreach pillar. So we have community outreach, education, and then networking and like social as our pillars. So community outreach, we had a big focus on accessibility the last couple of years. So this is, there was a panel we put together with some accessibility experts at a builders, owners, and consultant event. So that was really exciting. There was a lot of higher up people in that room, and we got to present on something very important, which was an exciting thing to do. The photo at the bottom there of the ramp, there's actually two other ramps running perpendicular to that one, but they were all built at different grades. And this display was put at the City of Calgary for the International Day of Persons with Disabilities so that people could experience what it's like to wheel up varying grades of a ramp. So they have a better understanding of the need to like increase the length and decrease the slope of those things to help people. So we got to coordinate that with the city, which was a really neat experience. We host a lot of education events back when we could, you know, looking at these, I just can't wait to get in a room with people again and have some of these shared experiences, and even to be presenting to you guys in a room would be a lot better. But yeah, we bring in guest speakers. We do like a big roundtable discussion and networking event called Lift every year. And we also do some pretty exciting site tours. So the one on the top right is the YYC luggage, the new baggage system for the international terminal, which was pretty neat. I'm not gonna lie, the bottom left one, I can't remember which site that was, but yeah, a good crew. It's nice to get exposed to some other projects that you maybe normally wouldn't. And then I have fun and fundraising because we do a lot of these. So the top right there is the Heart and Stroke Big Bike. We also volunteer at the Calgary Food Bank every year. And then we do some obstacle course races and have done some Shanks nights and nights at National, doing some bowling and stuff. So yeah, we try to really have a lot of fun and just collaborate and, you know, lighten things up from the day-to-day hard work that we all do. Any questions on that before I move on? No, okay, awesome. So yeah, now just coming up, I just have a few things that I've picked up along the way that I thought, I wish I heard these things when I was in school and coming into the industry. Just always be learning, seize opportunity. So the picture on the right, well, yeah, there's two separate experiences here. One, Brookfield Place. I don't know if you guys have been in a skip, but it's slightly terrifying. But to be on top of Brookfield was a pretty cool experience. And then the bottom, with my volunteering at YCL, I was able to go to Ottawa. So you can see me at Parliament Hill on the project there. I got to do a tour. But yeah, I got to go speak on behalf of the younger generation in Ottawa. And I was so horrified, you guys, I was so scared to do that, but I said yes anyways, and I went and I did it, and it's pretty cool to look back and say that I got to do something like that. So you never want to have those things come up and then regret not saying yes. And on that note, don't wait for things to come to you. You know, if there's anything at all you're interested in, or something you hear about, or you're like, you want to know more about, there's so many people willing to help you and provide you with info. So never be afraid to reach out or ask a question or stick your nose in and try to get involved. When traveling, take a look around. If you're, I'm sure as architecture students too, like I'm more from the general contracting side, and I always appreciate seeing big projects going on. But when you travel, the architecture is just so amazing, and it's always so different depending where you are. So yeah, don't forget to appreciate that when you're learning, going around, and learn from it too if you can. And yeah, put yourself out there. Being different can be good. You know, coming from my failures and failing out of school and losing a job that I took a risk accepting, it's all been for the best, and talking about it, I think, is a good thing. And yeah, and then lastly, keep it silly. So this is one of my mentors. His name was Wade. He passed away a couple years ago, but this was his motto. He always said, keep it silly. And so this is, all these photos are from the volunteering work I did as well. But yeah, if you're not having fun, then life gets tough. So, you know, it's so important to have things. And then again, a note on volunteering and going through everything. You know, when I got my job, I shared that with the YCL team. And when I lost my job, I shared that they're the people who got me through. And one of the guys lost, his father passed away, and he was a big influence in the industry. And, you know, we were there for him. And it's just, you really create a good family when you do this kind of thing, because you find people that have similar vision and goals, and like the heart, you know, your heart's kind of the same. So yeah, that's my presentation for you guys. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then I will pull my video up, and hopefully we can have some conversations.
I'm going to start with a question for you, Avree. How can students get involved with young construction leaders?
Yeah. So right now, I'll be honest, like things are kind of quiet, just based on COVID. We've been waiting, but probably in the fall, we'll be picking back up. So annually, there's a post for applications. And, you know, on that note, there are many organizations with both young volunteer groups and also just general, if, you know, there's something you're interested in, the Urban Land Institution is a good one. But yeah, there's lots of different societies and organizations that people can volunteer with. But how I started with the CCA is, as a student, I was broke. I had no money to spare. So I realized they had events that I wanted to attend. So I just asked if I could start volunteering, anything I could do to help with the event so that I could tag along for free. And that's kind of how I got my foot in the door. And for us, for YCL, with the applications, they are written, and it does help if we know who you are, you know, just based on the time, you know, volunteering can be timely. you're doing this above your full-time work, which can be up to a lot of hours a week. I won't even put a number. But it's important that we see people making an effort and that they can contribute. So start coming to events when we can start having them again, start showing interest, try to get to know some of the people. That helps a lot.
I put the websites in the chat here for the CMLC and for the young construction leaders if,
Oh, yeah,
if you guys
perfect.
want to check those out.
Yeah, the other thing with the YCL, we have done a few surveys and we've done some blogs, and we try to feature people with interesting ideas and stuff every once in a while. So if you have a cool story to share too, like don't be afraid to reach out and see if that's something we could align with, or if there's like a specific thing coming up that you hear about that you're very interested in getting involved with or would like to learn more, you know, ask the question. Like I said, put your hand up. It really is about kind of reaching out and stepping out of your comfort zone and saying like, hey, how do I actually get involved?
Thanks,
One thing
Avree.
I've learned, I was just gonna say, one thing with both volunteer and like career opportunities, one thing I've learned is, you know, if you don't ask or you don't tell people you're interested, you might not be considered just simply because they don't know that that's like the direction you want to go or what you're considering. So it's so important to just be vocal about, you know, wanting to be engaged and involved, and then your companies and your volunteer groups will know kind of where to put you. When things come up, they'll be like, oh, hey, I remember so-and-so expressing interest in that. So you pop into mind.
Thank you, Avree. Does anyone else have any questions for Avree in terms of the impact on the city of Calgary from CMLC, or what it's like to graduate from state and go into the world of architecture and construction?
Are many of you or any of you planning to go to the U of C after you get your certificate? Do you guys, can you transfer in to the U of C program? Does that work? No.
I don't think you can go directly, but I think the state program can take care of 1 year at U of C, depending on if you're going for a bachelor's or a master's.
I see. Awesome. Well, CMLC has some great resources, and I know our CEO, Kate Thompson, is tied to the U of C program quite closely. She is kind of similar to me with state. I think she helps them a lot and does some speaking in their classes. So yeah, we really support that program and this state program as well. So yeah, lots of good resources there. If you know, we do have our company profiles online. If you want to reach out to people, I'm sure they'd be happy to answer questions. I see this question: was I intimidated by my first job outside of school? 100% yes. Both jobs, you know, when I started my summer role that turned into 5 years because I wasn't going back to school, I was definitely scared there, but kind of got comfortable pretty quickly. But starting at PCL, I will never forget the first time we drove this site and looked at what we were going to be doing. And I was like, holy crap, like this is above me. But it's step by step. It's the whole eating an elephant bite by bite, right? As much as no one wants to eat an elephant. Yeah, you learn so much. And there are days when I think I don't know a whole lot about what I'm talking about on my projects. And then, you know, when you sit back and tell someone from the outside, you realize how much you actually pick up, and people are there to help you. And again, don't be afraid to ask your peers and your supervisors at work for help, or if you don't understand, or, you know, anything. If you're uncomfortable with something, it's important to identify that too. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so career opportunities from SAIT. You know, the market is confusing right now, but lots of people are hiring. And as I identified, there's lots of work coming up, particularly, you know, where we are, but there's lots of other stuff going around. I know, like such as Arts Commons and these Rivers District projects, there's also lots of work and talk about the university area. I can't remember the exact name of the area, but where the track and field facility is in the Volley Dome, that space just south, like by McMahon. They're looking at revamping that. So there's lots coming up there. Lots of opportunities. And also, I think if you're willing to relocate, the opportunities are kind of limitless. It just really depends what you're looking for and what you're willing to do. And how should I approach to get internship opportunities? Okay, here's a good one. When I was in school, I remember my first summer job I got with PCL. I was super excited because that was kind of my end goal was PCL, and I was shocked to get on with them so early. But when I got it, one of my classmates comes up to me and he goes, "Oh, how did you get that?" And I was like, "Did you apply?" And he's like, "Oh, no." I'm like, "Well, like, what do you think is going to happen then? It was just going to fall into your lap. You need to apply." And actually with PCL and both CMLC, I applied 3 times. PCL, I applied, I think probably 3 times. I went to a lot of their events. Like you got to sometimes poke and get in front of anyone you can. And eventually it will be the right person. But it's not always easy. I will say that. But it's possible, it's doable. Yeah, just keep trying and try to make yourself stand out if you can. I know some of the job applications are changing these days. There's some people wanting videos and lots of Skype interviews, which is not fun. But, you know, if you can kind of showcase a skill of your own within that, it's helpful. And, you know, something else that I did to help me get my CMLC job I can share is I looked at the job description and I identified the skills that they needed. And because I was kind of changing from general contracting to the developer side, I knew my skills didn't directly align with that. So I took their needs and I put my skills and how they either like complemented or how they like were exactly matching, or just applications of how they could tie together. So I really kind of put it on a platter and was like, here's exactly how I meet your need. So just things to consider to really personalize your application to meet what the company's asking for and looking for. Don't leave them to think about it. Anything else? I appreciate you guys for jumping on here. It's nice to kind of see you and get to share some of my path. Because yeah, it hasn't been easy and it hasn't just been awesome. And I think it's important that, you know, when you run into challenges too, that you're not alone. It happens to a lot of people. I learned getting laid off. Lots of people were like, "Oh yeah, I was laid off at like this length of time ago," whatever. I'm like, "Oh," but no one really talks about it. So when it happens, you're kind of like, "Oh my goodness, this thing happened to me," and it sets me aside, but it's not a big deal.
Thanks, Avree. I don't see any other questions coming in. Just wait a few seconds here, but that might be it for today. Yeah, I think that might be it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and kind of sharing your experience. And definitely those tips and tricks are really helpful, I think, for all of us, kind of figuring out what to do after school and kind of position ourselves better in the industry. So really appreciate you sharing your time and coming here and sharing your story, Avree.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thank you all. And feel free, like if you have any follow-up questions you want to ask me on the side, I'm more than happy to help out.
If students want to get in touch with you, how could they do that if they have a question?
Yeah, shoot me a message on LinkedIn or yeah, that's probably the easiest way. Or you have my email should be on the invite, I guess, for this. Or is there not? I don't know. Maybe
I don't
not.
think so. I don't
Yeah.
think I included it.
LinkedIn is
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay, have a good day, everyone.
Great. Thanks again, Avree.
You're welcome.
Thank you, students, everyone, for joining us.
Mhm.